Hello, dearly beloved. Welcome to this session on healing the father wound. Um, a few sessions back, we talked about how to heal your internal mother wound. Today, we are going to be discussing why is the father wound caused, why is it there, what does it mean, and whether you have it or not. We can get further deep into these sessions. If you want to book a personal reading for yourself, you can reach out to me in my DM anytime. We can sit together to have a quantum healing session, which is a talk therapy basically. So we try to delve deep into the kind of woundings that you hold within yourself, and along with somatic intelligence, um, you and I, we both sit together and try to get deep down into those woundings, into the root of the matter. So, when we talk about father wound, we need to understand first of all the relationship that a child holds with their father is very awe inspiring. A little child who is 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, they look up to their father as this role model, as someone who can inspire them, uplift them. Even for the son, particularly, the father continues to be this role model, this shining star of an aspect for a boy specifically as he grows up well beyond his teen years as well. Okay, so doesn't matter if you're a boy or a girl. If you're a girl, you may still hold father wounds, all right, but usually it is the boy who has certain father wounding, generally speaking, but doesn't have to be so. uh, this is also one of those things that we term in regular manner of speaking, daddy issues or mommy issues. This is what this means basically. If we try to understand why is the mother wound or the father wound there, it's simply because the child just wants love and acceptance. The child only wants love and acceptance, and of course safety, food, and all of that basic requirements kept aside. The child only requires love and acceptance from the parent, from the primary caregiver, from the one who is taking care of him. uh, and in the absence of that, when the primary caregiver fails to give that to the child sorts of starts developing a persona, a personality, in order to cater to their father or their mother, so that they can morph and work around the demands that the parent is putting on the child, so that it can receive love, so that it can receive acceptance. It's like, okay, I'm not good enough, I'm unloved, and I'm unwanted here. So, in order to receive that love, in order to receive that acceptance and respect, I have to be this person that they're telling me to be. And that is how the child starts forming this shell of an ego around him. And that usually begins from the ages of 5 to 7 for a small child. So, doesn't matter boy or girl, you may still have the father wounding, and we are getting deep into the aspects of what exactly is the father wound about. It is simply that you wanted love from your father, you wanted to be seen, you wanted to be accepted, you wanted to be appreciated by your father, and you did not end up receiving that. And as a result, we hold that pain within ourselves through all of those years, thinking that we are not good enough, thinking that we are undeserving, thinking that we are less than, we don't deserve love, right? So the first thing to understand is that unhealthy or toxic parenting occurs due to lack of awareness from one generation to another. It is passed down generation to generation. That is why we say if you start healing yourself, you are going to heal 14 generations back, that go back to your lineage, because that's the information that is encoded in your DNA. सो इसीलिए बोलते हैं कि जब हम मुक्ति की तरफ बढ़ते हैं, हम मोक्ष की तरफ बढ़ते हैं, तो हमारे जितने भी पूर्वज हैं वो भी तर जाते हैं, right? Because we are choosing to love, we are choosing to forgive, we are choosing to accept, we are choosing to understand where the parent was coming from. They also did not see healthy parenting, they also did not see healthy role models, um, healthy love growing up. Okay, so what would they know? They are only giving you the parenting that they themselves were given, राइट. तो बहुत बार ऐसा होता है कि जो पेरेंट की जो वुंडिंग होती है ना, वही सेम वुंडिंग बच्चे में भी देखी जाती है. right? But if you are here in this time, we are in wonderful, wonderful, awesome times right now, because the earth right now is receiving such high powered ascension, such high vibrational energy, light codes pouring into the earth atmosphere right now, which is helping us shed off any of these lower energies, any of this wounding that we have been holding within ourselves since so long, एंड इट इज़ ऑल लाइक डिजॉल्विंग, डिसिपेटिंग. तो अगर आप अपने अंदर काम कर रहे हैं, इनर वर्क कर रहे हैं, हीलिंग वर्क कर रहे हैं, अपने इनर चाइल्ड को वो एक्सेप्टेंस और लव और केयर दे रहे हैं, तो बहुत जल्दी ये प्रोसेस आपके लिए इनिशिएट होगा, राइट? सो unhealthy toxic parenting occurs due to lack of awareness from one generation to the next. It is present, one, due to lack of emotional self regulation, and two, it is due to lack of self awareness, right? Your parents themselves were not aware. You also as a child had limited perception of yourself, you know. बहुत ही छोटा वर्ल्ड व्यू था जब एक बच्चा बहुत बहुत यंग होता है. they don't understand what is going across, and growing up for the child, the parents are literally like god like figures. Everything that they say is so beautifully, phenomenally accepted कि वो उसको अपने में उतार लेते हैं. The child takes to be true what the parent is telling them, right? जो भी डायलॉग, जो भी बच्चे से कहा जा रहा है, वो बच्चा सही मान लेता है, even though when it might be a very lame remark, it might be an off the cuff remark, it might be an informal remark that is made by the parent, but you never know what the child is absorbing. ठीक है? तो in general the mother wound affects the daughter more, and in general the father wound affects the boy more, the son more. So you might notice even on this journey, even on the twin flame journey, you might experience where your person is also affected by the father wound or the mother wound. Okay, so this helps you within the twin flame connection as well, you know, to pinpoint things where your person is running away, where the person is shutting you out, where the person is unable to show up for you, for themselves, unable to express their truth, their internal feeling that they're holding. It can point you towards the kind of pain that they hold. Okay, father wound affects us in how we show up into the world. Okay, and mother wound affects us in how we show up for ourselves internally, in our internal world, in our self-love, in our intimate romantic relationships as well, right? So that's how these wounds affect us majorly. Okay, father wound is caused by the absence of emotional connection and support that only the father can provide to the child. Father gives the child a safe space of understanding, logical reasoning, a sense of purpose, self confidence, and a sense of self, राइट? तो सेंस ऑफ सेल्फ जो है, इसीलिए हम एस्ट्रोलॉजी में भी सन जो है, सन जो प्लैनेट है, वो पिता का रूप है और वो आत्मकारक कहा जाता है सन को in astrology, because it's such a phenomenally important planet. Not a planet, it's a star, but you understand what I'm saying, right? तो सन की जो अहमियत है वो एस्ट्रोलॉजी में भी समझी गई है, and how deeply we are connected with our father affects our relationships, affects how we show up into the world, affects how we put ourselves out there professionally as well, in many different ways, right? So now we are getting into the negative fathering behaviors that probably you grew up around. If you have been experiencing such things that I'm mentioning right now, it might not be to that same degree, कम ज़्यादा हो सकता है, depending upon your situation, depending upon your inner lessons, your soul lessons that you're here to learn. But these are certain common negative fathering behaviors. Inability to protect or to provide. सो इफ़ यू हैव एक्सपीरियंस्ड कि आपके फादर जो हैं इस तरीके से शो अप नहीं कर पा रहे हैं जैसा आप एक्सपेक्ट कर रहे थे उनसे, सो दैट माइट बी वन थिंग. इनएबिलिटी टू प्रोटेक्ट और टू प्रोवाइड टू द चाइल्ड. Anger, strictness, irritation, and lashing out. These are again violent outbursts like we saw in the mother wound as well. This is present here as well, but if it is very very persistent, the child will start taking that onto themselves, like, I am the one who is causing that within my father. When the child is very very small, they don't know who else to blame, they just blame themselves, right? So all of these negative ways of expressing is just showing that there has been a lack of emotional self regulation, that the father could not deal with his own internal uh, violent or negative emotions, his own dark side. That is why he's just like letting it out. Then of course there is spanking, punishment and abuse, which is a degree higher. This might or might not be true for you, but this is again a negative fathering behavior. Then of course there is silent treatment, or like withdrawing. So I have seen many fathers who just create this wall between them and their son, particularly. Uh, Especially you might have seen this in the generation before you, like your grandfather or them. They had this pedestal, like the father of the family, the head of the family was on this pedestal, and you could not cross that, you could not challenge that authority, you could not like say and blurt out anything to them. You had to be very prim and proper and perfect in what is coming out of your mouth, specifically around the father. So that is like an emotional distancing. um a communicative distance also exists, wherein there is communication gap between the father and the child. So that's there. And of course there is silent treatment. When the father is angry, or they are dealing with a lot of things, they just withdraw themselves without giving any explanation, making the child feeling very anxious, and um, it leaves them into a self doubt mode. Like, did I do something wrong? Is it because of me that he's not talking to everyone else? Is it just me that he's not talking to me? So it puts the child into this self doubt mode, self questioning mode, right? Then there is degradation, shaming, belittling and demeaning. So um, these father wounds resonate with our inner masculine very much so. Specifically, if you hold father wounding, this will very much relate to you. There is degradation, like verbal degradation, when the father is too criticizing of yourself, and he calls you out on all of your negative traits. Of course, at the root of it, at the base of it, they mean well, and they say there is love, but it is coming out in a very twisted form, morphed form. It is a very um, derogatory. ठीक है, आप बच्चे की रिस्पेक्ट नहीं कर रहे हो. ही इज ऑल्सो एन एंटिटी, द चाइल्ड इज ऑल्सो एन एंटिटी. ऑल्दो दे आर ग्रोइंग, दे आर स्मॉल, दे आर लिटिल, दे डोंट अंडरस्टैंड, बट छोटी छोटी चीज़ें ना, लाइक एड्रेसिंग द चाइल्ड विथ रिस्पेक्ट, okay, treating them like a human being, not like a puppy. So this is for inner child only, pretty little. The one live that I did for mother wounding, and this live itself is one for the father wounding. They both are there for your inner child. So please make sure that you sit through these entire lives and work with yourself. Okay, sit with yourself, like किस पेरेंट के साथ में आपका रिलेशनशिप बेहतर हो सकता था, या कहाँ आप चाहते हैं कि आप उन्हें ज़्यादा बेहतर समझते, वो आपको ज़्यादा बेहतर समझते. तो इट विल हेल्प यू ब्रिंग अप सम ऑफ दीज थिंग्स. Yeah. So then there is overprotectiveness, when the father was exceedingly concerned about your whereabouts, what you're doing, where you're going, what you're eating, and मतलब वो almost like that is to the point of interference. Okay. Then of course there is the absent father, who was not present physically around when you were growing up. This could be due to various number of reasons, that they were serving the government, they were serving the army, or probably they were in the navy, probably they were constantly touring, so this father was absent in the child's life. That too creates a void in the child's life. There's that void of the father figure, which the mother is trying to fulfill, and that of course will bring up a whole other uh, issue for the mother as well, because she's wearing both the hats for the child, right? So Then there is inability to resolve conflict. Some people also have that. So the way that they will do go around that is to take support of their partner. They will go to the mother, and the mother will probably come around and talk to you emotionally, like what happened. They are trying to speak on the father's behalf. The mother is trying to give explanations and clarity and justifications on the uh, like in place of the father coming in directly and speaking to you, right? So that might be there. So the inability to resolve conflict or to resolve an argument, like he might be completely absent and someone else is taking the role of taking care of you emotionally, right? So then there is narcissistic tendency, and of course like blaming. So this is very very strongly if there have been hints of narcissism that might be present in the father figure, that affects the child very very negatively, specifically around self-worth and self-confidence, because the father is constantly throwing the blame onto the kid. Okay, the kid is made into the scapegoat. Even for his own deficiencies he will not own up to it. He would constantly hold the child responsible for his behavior as well, right? So that is one thing. um, Emotional distancing, I already mentioned. Some fathers do that. They are very very emotionally distant. Again, like I mentioned, that men were not around those healthy father figures. They were not around the divine masculine energy, and that is why they struggle with dealing with emotions within themselves, right? So that is why the father could have been emotionally distant. Then there is constant dismissal of you. When the father is constantly putting you down and dismissing you, whatever you suggest, whatever you propose, whatever you bring up, specifically for approval from the father, he will dismiss it, he will reject it. So as a result, the child will start having those rejection wounds. Okay, constantly feeling criticized, belittled, um, and unseen, unheard, misunderstood all the time. Okay, so in that case, the child will slowly start receding into their own shell, into their own world, right? Then, of course, one of the other negative fathering behaviors is that constantly disappointed in you, like with the kind of grades that you've had, with the kind of behavior, with your own level of intelligence, the way you interact in the world, the way you show up in the world. The father might not like it, not approve it. They want you to be better, something more. And although this might be their own way of encouraging you, but this sort of like dampens the child completely, like um, douses the child of their own inner enthusiasm, their own inner creativity, as well as the child will start questioning himself. Then there is helicopter parenting, wherein there is over concern. Again, overprotectiveness is also a part of helicopter parenting, wherein they are constantly trying to micromanage what is going on in your life, trying to give you advice all the time, even for the littlest of things. So that is something that could have taken place. Then one of the other negative fathering behaviors is rage towards others. So in the family, the father would be quite good, quite happy, quite content. But as soon as he's out of the family dynamic, he becomes very aggressive. He becomes very very like this rageful person. Okay, this vengeance, this rage comes out, and that is basically his shadow aspect, but he doesn't know how to deal with it. So even the aggression that he feels within the family, he'll not take it out in the family, but probably on someone outside of the family dynamic. Okay, so it's like, for a very very small example, the entire family is traveling in a car and going to a certain place, and some cycle wala, auto wala comes in the middle. So there is some rule broken over there, and he will just get out of the car and he'll just start lashing out. Okay, this is like violent display of anger. So that will scare the child as well, who is there in the car. And that is again an example of negative fathering, because it will push the child to feeling fear. Okay, that violent outburst will bring up a lot of instability within the child. Like this figure is unstable, not expected. So it'll affect the child's root chakra. And of course, then there is self harm. wherein there might be violence to self involved, substance abuse, all kinds of things, drinking, smoking. This is negative behavior which affects the child very, very significantly in his growing years. And the last one I have mentioned is abuse. Okay, this is like the abuse of the real kind, which some of us have, not all, but this is like the extreme kind of abuse that we are talking about. So this impacts the child in very, very, very negative ways, because the child is just like soft dough, like wet cement. Whatever you put on top of it, it'll take the impression of it, and when it dries out, that is the personality that's created. And as a result, when the child goes out into the world, when he starts making friends, when he starts growing up, interacting with others in college, that uh, forces the child to shrink a little bit, right? Either the child will shrink or it will completely expand, trying to outdo the father figure. So the child himself might become narcissistic, right? So it's very, very complicated in that way. But you just need to know that there was something that you expected from your father that he could not give to you, and now you have to take that opportunity to start giving that to yourself, start reparenting yourself, right? So how do these negative fathering behaviors affect the child? The child slips into self pity, okay, constantly pitying themselves. This always happens to me, and I am unlucky, I am unworthy, and having that negative narrative about yourself. Blaming nature आ जाता है बच्चे में. बच्चा खुद को blame करता है, बच्चा दूसरों को भी blame करना शुरू कर देता है. Then of course there is low self-esteem, low self-confidence, because the father failed to see you. They failed to acknowledge your worth, your value in the family, in front of you, and as a result the child starts seeing themselves through the eyes of their father, right? So they might end up having very, very low self-esteem, confidence is low, they might be very shy, withdrawn, or isolated. They might not want to talk to many people, they might not have many friends as a result of this. Then there is chronic anxiety and depression. Of course, these are some things that we are seeing very, very commonly these days. Then there might be anger outbursts, rage, and abuse within the child as he starts mirroring the father. Now, this is particularly true for sons, for the male child, because as he is idolizing his father, he'll try to, he'll try to be like that. Even though it is a very, very negative, low reflection of self, so the child will start imitating that. Other times the child starts having the hero complex, wherein the father failed to be there for the children. The father even failed to be there for the mother. So now the son is growing up to take care of the mother, okay, taking the role of the father, basically subconsciously, trying to provide support, trying to provide understanding to and emotional support to his mother, and to his siblings as well. So the boy, the son will take up the hero complex. Okay, so it's like trying to be there for everyone else, trying to be the one to the rescue. This might be there with a daughter as well, but I've seen this happening time and again. This is very, very common with the sons. Okay, the son will turn out to be the overperformer, overachiever, just to fulfill his dad's expectations, right? To meet his demands, to meet his standards, right? The child might also struggle with healthy boundaries. This is also very, very true. If you have been suffering from this wound, you might have a very, very hard time in recognizing where people are disrespecting you, because it's so common, it's so ingrained that you take disrespect to be the norm, to be like the way people are normally. Okay, because you don't respect yourself, no one else has respected you, and thus you don't know how that feels, how that looks like. So you constantly compromise on your boundaries, trying to please others, trying to be there for others, trying to love others, trying to be overgiving, right? So that might be the case. Then chooses emotionally unavailable partners growing up. So this happens very much with the girl child. She will grow up to be with people who with guys who are very often on, unwilling to commit, unwilling to give respect, unwilling to be emotionally present, to take care of you emotionally, like that. So that might be the one. And of course there is self-sabotage, which also hinders growth. Can this be with a girl as well? She can become son of a house when she's trying to be with her mother. Exactly, yes Meenakshi, I just mentioned that. तो हीरो कॉम्प्लेक्स जो है दो मतलब बच्चे को अफेक्ट करता है. बच्चे का कोई जेंडर नहीं होता, प्लीज अंडरस्टैंड. फ्रॉम द एजेस ऑफ 4 to 7 द चाइल्ड इज अवेयर ऑफ genders, the difference in gender, but he's so connected with his soul has no gender, right? तो प्योर एसेंस होता है बच्चे का, तभी उसे हम बहुत ही प्योर एसेंस मानते हैं, इनोसेंट मानते हैं, भगवान का स्वरूप इसीलिए मानते हैं, बिकॉज ही इज अनअवेयर ऑफ वॉट इज एक्सपेक्टेड ऑफ हिम और हर एट दैट पॉइंट. तो बच्चा जो है धीरे धीरे ग्रो अप करता है टू स्टेप इन टू दैट हीरो रोल. इट माइट बी अ बॉय, इट माइट बी अ गर्ल एज वेल. ओके, then there is refusal or inability or lack of desire to thrive. Okay, this is very personal, but this might happen to you as well. When the father has constantly like looked down upon you, they have written you off. Many a times it happens that father will completely write off the child. Okay, तुम बेकार हो, तुमसे कुछ नहीं हो पाएगा बेटे, तुमसे ना हो पाएगा. तो उस केस में क्या होता है कि बच्चा ये समझता है कि द फादर हैज़ गिवन अप ऑन मी, है ना, कि मतलब मेरा सही में कुछ नहीं हो सकता है. तो बच्चा जो है वो हार्ड वर्क करना छोड़ देगा. ही विल स्टार्ट फोकसिंग इन हिज स्टडीज़. ही विल लेट गो ऑफ एक्सेलिंग इन स्पोर्ट्स एज वेल. उसकी जो हॉबीज़ होंगी वो भी धीरे धीरे छूट जाएंगी, राइट? क्योंकि वो अंदर से जो एक हैप्पीनेस होती है वो उससे थोड़ा दूर हो जाएगा. एंड देयर विल बी दैट लैक ऑफ डिज़ायर टू थ्राइव, टू ग्रो, टू बी बेटर. हाँ ठीक है, मतलब फादर इज गिवन अप ऑन मी, सो आई एम ऑल्सो गिविंग अप ऑन माई सेल्फ बिकॉज आई कैन नॉट बी एनीथिंग नाउ. ओके, तो बिकॉज अंडरस्टैंड द चाइल्ड विल टेक द फादर्स वर्ड टू बी द अल्टीमेट अथॉरिटी. ओके, एंड as Indians we are not taught to question that in any way, shape, manner or form, because there is that respect that you can never cross. ठीक है, तो refusal, inability or lack of desire to thrive. Then there is laziness and procrastination as well. Again, this has to do with output. Remember I told you father wound is how we show up into the world, how we achieve, how we gain success, how we connect with others, especially in the professional world. So yeah, so that is where the person will start being lazy and trying to procrastinate all the time. Then of course there are addiction, self-harm and escapism. These are ways of escape mechanisms as they are called, because they tend to blur out the pain. If there is intense pain within the child, he will try to numb it out by either alcoholism or drug abuse, or it might be smoking, it might be all sorts of things, gambling and philandering and all of those things. The child might take it up so that they can forget who they are, so that they can numb out the pain. And subconsciously they are actually agreeing with the father, right? The father feels like you are good for nothing, and the child says yes, I am good for nothing, right? So I am going to be this way. So that is their own way of rebelling, like passive aggressively, but yeah, it turns out to be a negative reflection. So issues with authority, this is also very, very common. You might see this all around you, especially men have that. The point of male ego that we say, it's not negative, but you know what happens, जब आपने एक पॉजिटिव रोल मॉडल नहीं देखा है अपने लाइफ में, कोई एक इंस्पायरिंग मेल मॉडल नहीं देखा है आपने अपने लाइफ में, तो आपको खुद को नहीं समझ में आता कि आपने क्या एम्यूलेट करना है. Where do you need to reach? Okay, there are ascended masters, but they are on the spiritual path. But बच्चा जो है वो उस जगह बहुत जल्दी से रिलेट नहीं करता है, वो रियल वर्ल्ड में आंसर्स ढूंढता है, राइट? दे कैन नॉट रिलेट स्पिरिचुअली. तो अ चाइल्ड विल ट्राई टू देन challenge authority. There is mistrust, there is resentment, there is weakness also sometimes. तो बच्चा जो है अथॉरिटी को चैलेंज करने लगे, उल्टा हो जाता है, एक होता है आप सबमिसिव हो जाते हो, एक होता है आप अग्रेसिव हो जाते हो. सो देयर आर डिफरेंट वेज दैट पीपल रिस्पॉन्ड टू for a given situation, for a given negative behavior. Then there is the shamefulness within, not good enough, not feeling worthy enough, not feeling loved, not feeling seen, of course. So shame जो है वो बच्चे में बैठ जाती है बहुत ज़्यादा, because of the negative talk, because of the criticism, because of belittling and begrudging, because of emotional inability and all of that, blaming. तो इससे बच्चा जो है उसके अंदर शेम आनी शुरू हो जाती है, एंड हिज सेक्रल चक्रा, हिज सोलर प्लेक्सस, टुगेदर इट स्टार्ट्स गेटिंग अफेक्टेड. देन द चाइल्ड माइट बिकम हाईली सेंसिटिव एंड रिएक्टिव एंड अवर्स टू क्रिटिसिज्म. कभी कभार क्या होता है कि आप काम कर रहे हैं और आपको पॉजिटिव फीडबैक जो दी जा रही है उसमें से भी आप ट्रिगर हो जाते हो, राइट? क्यों ऐसा हो जाता है? कई बार ऐसा कॉमन है, और अगर ये आपके साथ होता है, इट्स बिकॉज वन ऑफ योर पेरेंट्स वॉज ओवरली क्रिटिकल ऑफ यू, राइट? और जब आप वो सुनते हैं ना, तो आपको वही फीलिंग वापस आती है, वो पेन आपका ऊपर आ जाता है कि आई एम अनलव्ड एंड आई एम अनएक्सेप्टेड, आई एम नॉट गुड इनफ. तो क्रिटिसिज्म बर्दाश्त नहीं होती, ठीक है? तो ये सारी चीज़ें हैं जो बच्चे को इस तरीके से अफेक्ट करती हैं. कैन दे नम पेन विद मेडिसिन टू? येस, दैट इज़ ड्रग अब्यूज इन अ वे, लाइक नॉट इन द क्या बोलते हैं, जंकी काइंड ऑफ अ वे, बट येस, दैट्स व्हाट इट इज़. यू स्टार्ट टेकिंग मेडिसिन लाइक स्लीप पिल्स हो गई, एंटी एंग्जाइटी पिल्स हो गई हैं, या कोई एक ऐसा मेडिकेशन है जो डॉक्टर ने आपको सजेस्ट नहीं किया, प्रिस्क्राइब नहीं किया है, बट उसका इफेक्ट जो है आपके ब्रेन पे एक थोड़ा रिलैक्सिंग, नंबिंग सेंसेशन देता है, तो यू कैन डिटैच योर सेल्फ फ्रॉम दोज इमोशंस टेम्पररीली. तो वो भी एक एस्केप मैकेनिज्म है. Do you think that we disappoint God if we choose to walk away from the twin flame journey? God has already intended this on you, for you. Okay, God is simply silent. He has no judgment of you. God, divine energy, always is in support of you, whatever it is that you're choosing. But if you choose to walk away from this journey, that is completely your decision, right? But ultimately what you're saying to yourself is that I'm not worthy of this love, I'm not worthy of this divine love, right? So yeah, that's that. Then certain common dialogues coming from fathers. Okay, this is really interesting, and oh my god हिल गया, सब कुछ हिल गया. तो ये कुछ बातें हैं जो यूजुअली वी लिसन फ्रॉम आवर फादर्स ग्रोइंग अप. आपके कुछ सजेशंस हैं जो आप ये सुन के बड़े हुए हैं. यू कैन मेंशन दैट इन द कमेंट्स एंड आई विल रीड दैट आउट एज वेल, बिकॉज लेटर आई विल बी सेविंग दिस लाइव on YouTube as well. So here are some common dialogues that I have listed out, that usually fathers will say. Okay, what do I have to do around here to get respected, to receive respect? ठीक है, what do I have to do around this house to receive respect? तो ये है एक अंदर की उनकी इनर फेमिनिन की वुंडिंग है फादर के अंदर की, के they feel hurt when somebody is not respecting them. Right, so this is what they might say, and this makes the people around, this makes the child around feel guilty for voicing out their opinions, for putting out their thoughts, for expressing their feelings, right? You are a failure and a disappointment to me or the family, right? So you have not lived up to the expectations of the father, and as a result the father is saying this. This starts affecting the child negatively, and they start feeling rejected. That's when the rejection wound starts setting in. If you live under this roof, you have to live by my rules. Okay, my word goes. It's either my way or the highway. So there the father is just putting you into a box. Okay, he's giving you no option, no freedom, no flexibility to express yourself, to take your own decisions, to be the master of your own destiny, right? And that makes the child feel very bound. Okay, very very constricted, very bound. Then there might be a situation wherein the father is working, or they have come home from work, they are relaxing, and the child is playing, and the child gets up and wants to show something to the father or say something to the father, and the father is not in that zone right now to listen to the child, and so he says, not now, just go and play, just go do your own thing, I cannot talk right now. Okay, so that cuts the child off immediately of expression. All right, he's not given the permission to approach the father. The father becomes unapproachable. That makes the child feel abandoned. He feels rejected also, right? Then something that fathers usually say is, money doesn't grow on trees. Okay, you have to value money. If you work so hard for the family, you would know. Okay, all of these things we hear a lot growing up, and that is of course a part of his own limited self conditioning, limited conditioning that the society puts in. Okay, these words, remember, they also have been told to your father when he was growing up, so he's simply repeating that. Okay, um, so this brings up a lot of guilt within the child, right? You might feel like he is making um, illogical decisions related to money. Okay, animal movie is the best example of father wounds. Yes, that's true. Of course that's like very very बहुत ही extreme level पे है, but yeah, I've not seen that movie, so yeah, I'm going to take your word for it. Why are you this way? Fathers usually saying, why are you this way, what is wrong with you? So that again the child feels rejected immediately. He's like, oh my god, am I this way? Why am I this way? The child starts questioning. Stop this drama at once. So usually when there is a lot of emotional chaos going around, the father will try to cut the noise out by saying, stop all of this drama at once. Even though you might be crying, you might be trying to express, you might be trying to complain, or sharing something with the father, because he cannot deal with his own emotions, he doesn't know how to deal with yours, right? So he will try to say, stop this drama at once, cut it out, you better man up, boys don't cry and all of that. Then the father will say, you will never be able to do this, right? So this is a very very significant thing to say to a child, that is taking away his sense of self, sense of confidence. Because when you tell a child that they cannot do this, they are going to agree with you, they are going to accept whatever you're saying, and they are going to give up on it, right? Then get real, world doesn't work this way. So this is again seeing you through the eyes of society, and you are acceptable only when the society accepts you, that kind of a thing, um, which again brings up abandonment within the child. This is not a movie, it's real life. Okay, that we have heard many a times. uh, how many times have I told you to do so and so? How many times do I have to repeat myself? This is again saying to the child that you are dumb in the head, you are soft in the head. I have to repeat myself constantly for you to understand something. But if the father is approaching the child with love and understanding, the child will immediately understand it. Okay, and this is a thing that not many people understand. It's very very important. But uh, when the parent is angry, the child's mind, the child's brain literally shuts off. It cannot process. That is why you go in a free state when you are very very small, very young, and the father, the parent is already like physically so huge, and they are just like growling, grumbling, and they are venting at you. They are just full of rage, full of anger. They're just spitting out words at you, looking down on you. You don't know what to do. You completely shut off in your mind. So this puts the child in a free state, right? So this is not what many parents understand, specifically in terms of teaching as well. I've seen this, that parents grow very very impatient when it comes to teaching the children. Okay, teaching the child how to study, how to do math, and when the child is not able to grasp it, the parent becomes very very angry, loses temper. And how many times have I told you, how many times do I have to explain this? Are you soft in the head? Are you stupid? So the child actually starts saying that to themselves, that I cannot do this any longer. My parent is saying that I'll not be able to do this, which is of course untrue. Keep quiet and lower your glance when I speak. This is also something that we have commonly heard growing up. And this is what the father will say in order to take back his power, in order to retain his authority, his position in the family, that you have to lower your voice, you have to lower your glance when I speak, right? Do whatever you want. This is when the father will give up on you. You like you are a waste of time. you're a waste of time, you're a waste of energy, just do whatever you want. Okay, so this is cutting off immediately, distancing yourself from the child, and child immediately will start feeling rejection and abandonment, right? How dare you, of course this is the last one that is coming up. How dare you do this, how dare you question this, how dare you go against my rules, my decisions, whatever I say goes. So this is also something that is negatively talked very very commonly to the children. So if you have something to share, you can mention it over here in the comments, something that you grew up listening to a lot, and probably I'm very very sure that there are high chances that it started affecting you negatively growing up. Okay, and today till this date, this will happen in your relationships as well, this will happen in your professional connections as well. When someone starts behaving like your father, the kind of negative behavior that your father reflected to you, if someone starts behaving like that, you immediately get triggered, just like that. And we don't understand in that time, all of that emotional overwhelm will start coming up, and you feel rage, you feel triggered, you feel like crying, you feel like running away, you feel like shutting them out, right? All of that violence will come up because it is unresolved. You don't know where it is coming from. Most of the times we don't even know the name of that wounding, right? So I have put out this free journal called My Healing Journey. In my bio, you can have the link in my bio. It's a PDF file. You can have a printout of it and start uh, acknowledging what is the main core wounding that you hold. There are only 5 core wounds that you might hold as a child growing up. This is regardless of father and mother, right? But this is a wounding that the child is holding within themselves, and as it is unresolved through all of these years, whenever someone tells us something that goes against our thought, against our feelings, we get triggered, right? So love and joy, again shame comes from your parents shaming you, right? You need to go back to the time, to the earliest memory of when you felt shamed, when you felt shame. Like this might even be with peers in the class. Okay, but yes, so um, so that's all. I think this is all that I have now. Healing father wounds or healing mother wounds. How can you go about it? The first step is to admit that your father wounds that you have. Okay, what is the name of the father wound that you hold? There are primarily 5 core wounds that I've mentioned in the healing journal. It's abandonment, rejection, guilt, betrayal, and neglect. Okay, so any of these that you might hold, I have described the core wounding as well, so that it can help you zero in on what is the name of the wound that you hold. There might be more than one wounds as well, by the way, so please take what resonates. And so the first step to healing your father wound is to acknowledge that you have that wound, what is the name of the wound, and admitting your needs were not met as a kid, right? So the second step is knowing that your father himself was a victim of negative parenting or toxic parenting. He had unhealed father wounds within himself. That is why he could not be the ideal father to you, right? The healed father to you. So this is extending compassion and extending forgiveness to your father, understanding that he too did not see the true unconditional love. He did not see the ideal parent growing up, and that is why he could not show up for you in that way. And third is giving yourself the permission to empathize with him, at the same time allowing yourself to feel your true emotions of anger, hurt, hate, resentment, and all of those negative emotions that you feel, to sit with them, to allow them with yourself, to journal it out. And of course patience is key with this. You have to be very 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 patient with this. Through your triggers you are going to learn a whole lot about yourself. And in the healing journal I have also mentioned, like there are certain exercises, okay, trigger exercises. जब आप ट्रिगर हो गए हैं, आपको बिल्कुल अच्छा नहीं लग रहा है, किसी ने कुछ कह दिया, किसी ने टॉन्ट मार दिया, किसी ने कुछ कर दिया, चाहे वो आपके फैमिली से हो, चाहे बाहर की ज़िंदगी में कहीं randomly किसी ने आके कुछ बोल दिया and it has triggered you a lot. You are feeling triggered. You know that you are feeling something but you don't know what. So you take the journal, just sit with it, go through these steps. There are 5 steps given in the journal, and as you start approaching the 5th step, the last step, you will start feeling very good about yourself. You start feeling at peace, you will feel neutralized, you will feel emotionally regulated because you sat with those emotions, with those negative thoughts that you are having, right? So I hope this helps you a lot. Please do let me know what you think about the journal as well. And the last point that I have mentioned here is that with love and acceptance, healing occurs. And the golden word for healing your inner child wound is forgiveness. Hold forgiveness for everyone who has affected you negatively, who has not believed in you, who failed to give you love, who failed to give you acceptance, because they are ultimately teaching you. Okay, all of this happened so that you probably could show up for someone else, right? So all of our triggers are our teachers, and I really hope that this session helped you. I love you so much. Take care, stay blessed.